Hey everybody, today I'm going to be doing a special video where I take a deep dive into shadow work for people who are creatively inclined. I've created 50 shadow work journal prompts that I thought would be really beneficial for people who are creatively minded to take a deeper dive into our subconscious mind and possibly work through and transform what we have going on inside. So I first wanted to start off this video by discussing what shadow work is for those of you who are new to the practice. So shadow work involves working with our shadow. Everybody has one, and it is the deep part of our subconscious that we keep tucked away. Oftentimes, when we try to repress and hide away the parts of ourselves that we are ashamed by, it will often bleed into our lives and affect our conscious mind. Journaling is a really great way to dive into the shadow self. I want to preface this by saying that shadow work is challenging. Trust your instinct and your intuition, and if you really feel like you're not ready to address a certain aspect within your shadow, that is totally okay. Please listen to yourself and be gentle and curious throughout the process. When partaking in spiritual practices that can open up deep emotional wounds or past traumas, it can be very beneficial, if not crucial, to supplement this with some type of lighter spiritual practice. This could include positive daily affirmation, gratitude writing, anything of that nature that can lighten the burden of doing this type of emotional work. Within these 50 journal prompts, I created 5 subcategories. Number 1 is growth and reflection. Number 2 is healing. Number 3 is confidence. Number 4 is ego. And number 5 is creative freedom. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the prompts. The next 10 questions will be within the realm of growth and inner reflection. Explain a time that you went outside of your creative comfort zone. How did that feel? How has that contributed to your growth? Now, this one seems simple, but you can actually really take a deep dive into the root of this question, and that is, why do you choose to create? Try to go into as much detail as possible and find the aspects of yourself that crave creation. Number 3. How do you handle creative blocks and lack of inspiration? What does your self-talk sound like during these periods? Do you feel like these pauses are helpful or essential in any way? Number 4, what fuels or drains your creative energy? Number 5, when other people see your work, how do you want it to make them feel? Number 6, if your creative energy was a color, what color would it be and why? This one's kind of fun. I love dreaming and I have very vivid dreams. So how have your dreams influenced your creativity? Number 8, how does it feel when you reach flow state? What elements often put you in that space of effortless creation? Number 9, what major life event have you been through that has greatly impacted your artistic nature? Number 10, what is the biggest lesson you have learned from being an artist? All right, now we're going to be shifting gears a little bit and heading into the healing category. Now, this category might be a little bit heavier and challenging for people, especially if you have been through traumatic experiences in your life. Remember, the best thing that you can do in any spiritual practice is trust your intuition and be gentle and kind to yourself. So let's explore some of these topics. Have you experienced a great loss in your life? If so, how has grief impacted your creative expression? In what ways have creative outlets served you in working through the heaviness of grief? Write a loving, supportive letter to yourself to help guide you through times when you're feeling hard on yourself, insecure, or stuck in a rut. So I realize this next question can be a little challenging to address for some of us. Have you ever felt critiqued by your parents or caretakers regarding your artistic nature? Write a letter with the type of love and support you would have liked to receive from a parent or caregiver. I realize this can be a prompt that can be very challenging for people who have had difficult relationships with a loved one. If you're not in a good place right now to address this prompt, that is okay. You can always revisit it if you are feeling like you're called to it. Number 14, what negative criticisms or judgments are you holding on to from other people that don't belong to you? How are they negatively impacting your creative flow? Number 15 is kind of fun. It's an age regression exercise. So you want to spend a few minutes meditating and trying to connect to your inner child self. Try to meditate on going back to how you saw and framed the world when you were very young. Then shift your childlike lens onto the things that you currently create. How would these creations make them feel? What curiosities and questions would arise? Number 16, this can also be a heavy one for some people too. This revolves around coming to truths that we might not necessarily want to come to terms with. And that is, do you have any negative habits that you feel like have a positive contribution to your creativity? What would life without these habits look like for you? In what ways do you lean on these habits to fulfill your artistic ambition? I feel like substance dependency can be very common with creative people. A lot of times people who are artistic can also be very sensitive. It can contribute to their creativity, but it can also sometimes contribute to their self-destructive behaviors. So I think addressing that can be really beneficial for some people. Number 17, have you ever felt like the creative process has helped to transform your emotions? In what ways has the process aided in your healing? Number 18 addresses negative self-talk, which is something I feel like every single person struggles with on some level. Write out any critiques and self-judgment that you have about your work. When you're finished, read what you wrote back to yourself and write a response that you would cultivate for a loved one or a dear friend. Number 19, when life feels chaotic and stressful, do you often deep dive into your creativity, or do you take a pause for yourself? How does making the conscious decision to be creative or not be creative serve you during these chaotic or stressful times in your life? This is prompt number 20, and it is the last one in the healing category. Has the creative process ever helped you to dig deep inside of yourself and come to terms with a truth or realization about yourself you hadn't realized yet before? If so, how has this realization or insight impacted your life? It is time for the confidence category. Let's get into it. What insecurities tend to arise when you show your work to others? What would you choose to create if you had the confidence in yourself to create anything? 23. How does it feel when you create something that you just don't like? How does it impact your confidence? What helps you to regain a sense of confidence when you are struggling? 24. When you are experiencing negative self-talk around your creativity, what does that inner dialogue sound like? How does this take away from your experience? 25. Does showing your work to others ever make you feel vulnerable? How do you work through this discomfort? In what ways can being vulnerable be empowering? 26. Do uncomfortable feelings ever come up for you when you are self-promoting your work? What are those feelings? Name them and try to find the root of where they come from and why they are there. Write down any fears that you might have in regards to truly pursuing your artistic dreams. Now, go back and revise and write a future for yourself that does not include those fears. Number 28, this can be a really good one if you struggle with criticism from other people and really take it to heart when they don't have the same point of view that you have. When you create something that you really like and then you hear negative feedback from other people after they see it, does it impact or change the way that you see the art you made? If so, why do you think that is? Does hearing appraisal for your work make it seem or feel more valuable to you? Number 29, if you rely on your craft financially, does the confidence to support yourself ever come into question? What feelings do you have around stability? What does true abundance mean for you in your life? This is our last confidence question, and that is, when is it that you feel the most artistically confident? And how does confidence help you to embrace your most genuine self? Now, this is the ego category, and I think it is challenging for most people to admit, but I think most, if not all people, could benefit from challenging their own ego. So let's go ahead and dive into some of these prompts. Number 31, how has criticism actually improved your creativity or art? Number 32, reflect back on a time where you had been critical or judgmental of somebody's craft or art. Where did this criticism stem from? Are there truths within your criticism that you see about yourself? Number 33, do feelings of jealousy ever arise when you see somebody create something you really like, or when you see somebody being productive, or when you see someone being given an opportunity that you would have liked to have? How does jealousy relate to the feelings that you have about yourself? How has jealousy helped or hurt you? Number 34, how has appraisal affected your ego? What does failure mean to you personally? How does failure make you feel? 36 is a really sweet prompt, and it challenges you to shift your perspective from just within yourself and to shift a lens onto those who have helped you become who you are today. And that is to zoom outside of yourself and take a look at those around you. Who has been the biggest supporter and motivation behind your creative ambitions? Who believed in you when you did not even believe in yourself? Who celebrated your victories and noticed all of your hard work? Write them a thank you letter and go in depth as to how they have had a positive impact in your creative spirit and nourishing your energy. And if you feel like giving it to them afterwards, then you should. The next prompt is to write about something positive that someone has said about your work, and then write about something negative that somebody has said about your work. Go into detail and examine why it is that those two things have specifically stuck with you. Number 39 is a polarity exercise, and it is to write about a creative endeavor that had inflated your ego, and then write about a creative endeavor that had deflated your ego. What lessons did you learn or take away from the experience of both? Question number 40. Do you believe that it is important to remain humble and kind when you are presented with grandiose opportunities or appraisal from others? In what ways do you remain aligned with these important attributes when experiencing success for your talents? We are entering the final category, and that is the category of freedom. Personally, this is probably my favorite area to explore when it comes to understanding my own artistic nature. There's a lot to be said about feeling like you have the freedom to make the things you really want to, and to not feel constrained by societal pressures or yourself or whatever it may be holding you back from your true creative nature. So let's deep dive into the last category. 41. In what ways has your work challenged the status quo? In what ways does this fuel your authenticity? Number 42. Did you feel more or less creative freedom when you were a child? What overall factors have contributed to this change? Number 43 is a really important thing to address, and it's something I don't think many of us take the time to really look at. And that is, in what ways have you altered or diluted your work to make it more palatable for your audience? What would total creative freedom look like and feel like for you? Number 44, what emotions or thought patterns do you constantly see throughout your body of work? How has this contributed to your identity? 45, write about a piece of art that you've shared that made you feel vulnerable. How did it feel to share something so personal? 46. What societal pressures have been placed on you for being a creative individual? Do you agree or disagree with this narrative? Question 47 has to do with transparency, and that is, how does your art change when you know you're the only person who is going to be looking at it? In what ways is the art that you create performative? Do you feel like you can be your true, creative, authentic self when you are in front of an audience? Now, this next question can really pertain to people who have a lot of responsibility or people who are taking care of others, whether you're a parent or a caretaker or you have a demanding job. Do you feel guilty taking time for yourself to nourish your artistic energy? Where does this guilt come from? In what ways can you practice letting go of this narrative? This next question can be a great topic to explore for somebody who is very driven by their craft and goal-orientated around what they do. And that is, do you allow yourself to take a step back from your productivity to explore other things that interest you? What other interests do you like to explore, or would you like to explore if you granted yourself the time to do so? Do you find that exploring other interests and letting go of your need for productivity can enhance and balance your life? If so, or if not, then why? And we've finally reached prompt number 50. In what ways has your need for perfection hindered your creativity? Does the fear of getting it wrong ever hold you back? Thanks for being here and for exploring these topics with me. I hope that you found something that personally aligns with you and what you have going on, and it will allow you to deep dive and reflect on some inner workings of your psyche. Remember to trust your intuition and your gut instincts when doing this type of work, and always allow yourself breaks and time for positive spiritual activities to help balance out your life. Doing shadow work and journaling is an act of self-love, and approach it with the lens of doing something that is positive for yourself, and don't be hard on yourself when negative feelings or experiences or trauma responses arise when doing this type of work. And this type of spiritual deep dive does not just have to be through journaling. You can use many creative outlets to explore these topics, whether it be dance, creating music, painting, illustrating, whatever craft you decide to do, you can use it as an outlet to explore these deep inner topics within yourself. The journey of healing takes a lot of inner reflection and honesty and self-love, and thank you for being here with me and for being curious and taking a look at some of these topics with me. If you found this video helpful and would like to support my channel, I have a lot of other fun videos, and I hope to be making more in the future. Do your shadow work with love. Until next time, friends, bye-bye.